Welcome to the July College Recruiter webcast. I'm Stephen Rothberg. I'm the founder. I am joined here today by two of my colleagues, Glen Handrahan, head of sales. Hey, Glenn.
Hey, Steven.
And Jeanette Leeds, chief operating officer.
Hello.
We're going to talk a little bit about our friends at Indeed. And I do mean friends. I'm not saying it like sarcastically or whatever.
He's really not.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're making some changes. All organizations do. And we're going to try to talk about a few of those today, kind of like what we know, what we're hearing, what might be confusing, and whatever. So, how about if we start off talking about, I think the one that most people in the industry are talking about, and that is disposition data, or I think Indeed calls it something like performance data or success data or something to that. But basically, if Indeed sends you, the employer, a candidate that applies to your job and that you interview them and you extend an offer and you hire them, Indeed wants to know all of that. Jeanette,
Yeah.
thoughts?
To me, that's really interesting because depending on who you are as an employer, like that can feel a little invasive. And to others, they think, okay, no big deal. But to like actually send back, wait, Stephen, are we hearing that is like a requirement? And by the way, for everyone listening, like we're talking to tons of like our customers and employers. So we're also hearing different things from different parts of the world. And so just like we're breaking down what we're hearing, but also you tell us, like comment below. But like
Yeah.
really, like this is a little bit. So are we hearing that as a mandate? Like that is
Yeah. And I'll tell you what I'm hearing. And then
tell me
Glenn,
what you're hearing.
I think you probably talk to like more employers, employment advertising agencies on like a weekly basis than I do. What I'm hearing is there are kind of like two different buckets. There's the small and medium-sized employers that tend to use the one-click apply. They might be using Indeed's ATS. They might be using their own ATS, but candidates apply on Indeed. And then Indeed basically sends the application data into the ATS in the background. That I've heard is for those employers, the disposition data is required. Who applied? Did you extend an offer to them? Did you hire them? Do they have blonde hair, red hair? I'm just kidding about that. But the larger employers that are using, greenhouse ISIMs, whatever, I'm hearing that the disposition data there, that some employers are being required and some are not yet. And that some employers that are using Indeed and spending millions and millions have told Indeed, no, we will not provide this data to you. There might be security issues. There might be health issues. Like you didn't hire this person because they couldn't lift a 50-pound box because they broke their vertebrae. And they don't want to pass that health information to Indeed because then the employer might be, all of that kind of stuff. Glenn, I know I kind of confuse things, but it is a little bit confusing. What are you hearing?
Yeah, I think confusion is probably the number one point right now. I'm hearing different things as well. I think most people I talk to feel a little invasive with the disposition data. They feel we don't need help hiring. That's our issue. We need help more top of funnel, like worry about getting us the good candidates. Why are they worried about that? I know Indeed's going to play it off to either they match better quality or they eventually want to move to a cost per hire model and try that out. But right now, I think they're just trying to capture as much data as they can, as we kind of move forward. But yeah, I think like everything and like most Indeed changes, it's just a lot of confusion in the market right now. And yeah, I think most companies are just kind of trying to figure it out as they go.
I think what's really interesting here, it's like with any change, right? It's like, where's the power base, right? And so obviously you're a big spender, right? Like a big company and you're spending a lot. You have more power to say, you know what, Indeed, I'm not sending you this disposition data on my candidates, like for a variety of reasons, right? Privacy, maybe internal strategy, or just like, you know what, like externally, like this is I don't like this. And then the smaller companies who have less power, right, because they're not buying as much, again, it's like a different model. They can't if they don't like it, it's like sort of like, okay, well, if you don't like it, go somewhere else, presumably. Like, so it's really interesting how this will shake out. But I don't know, the disposition data, that's like, listen, data is king to your point, like with Glenn
Mm.
saying, like data is king. Like you have data, you can do so much with it. You can figure out better matching. Like, yes, like there is, and I am sure Indeed is doing this for good reasons, right? Like
Oh,
companies
yeah.
like to believe, right? It's like you do things to help your customers, to help your candidates. Like it's for a good reason, but yet sometimes there's these knock-on effects where you're like, oh, did I maybe overstep a little bit? So that'd be
It's
interesting.
to me, like, for Indeed doing this if for good reasons for the employers is a little bit like a parent telling a kid that they should eat their broccoli. Like,
Ugh.
there are good reasons for that, and it will be better for you in the long term. Now, I'm somebody who happens to have always liked broccoli. Just one more reason I'm, like, kinda weird, but it's good for you, I need you to do it, doesn't mean that the person who is being told what to do wants to do it
That's
or
interesting.
even will. Like, so, all right, cool. You mentioned
Not
data,
brand new
Jeanette.
too. Sorry, I just
Oh,
want to cut, but
please.
it's not brand new because
Oh,
the
yeah.
programmatics have been doing this as well,
True.
right? They've been tracking to the higher, probably for years now, or a year, most of them. So I think especially those larger companies, like I feel they're more used to it. They're dealing with this with maybe their programmatics, where maybe those middle, small, medium-sized businesses, this is a first to them.
That's a really good point. If an organization is already sharing this data with, say, Appcast, Veritone, whatever, are they going to say no to Indeed? There might be a few, but if they've already made that strategic decision to share it with third parties so that they get better candidate quality or whatever, then it's just going to be like one more. And then I think some of that will then end up percolating down to like other job search sites, like a college recruiter, talent.com, whatever. Okay, data. Jeanette mentioned the word data a minute ago. Another change that Indeed is talking about doing is basically how it receives jobs.
Mm.
So small employers, when they go to a typical job board, they typically like log into the job board and they type or copy and paste and they pay with a credit card. I'm not hearing any changes there. Large employers almost always send their jobs in a feed. And that feed might come directly from the ATS. It might be through an API integration. It might be an XML file, which I think they've been around since 1952. And it's like, it's the bane of my existence, but so what?
Still around.
And sometimes when you send jobs through an XML, sometimes it's just all of the XML file only has jobs in it from that one employer. So like XYZ Corporations just sends just its jobs to Indeed, maybe directly, maybe through an ad agency or whatever. And sometimes they're in a multi-employer feed is what we call it, where like say an advertising agency, an RPO kind of collects all the jobs that it wants to advertise with College Recruiter and gives us one feed with all of those. So what I'm hearing is Indeed has said those single employer feeds from a third party, staffing agency, RPO, advertising agency, that if they're already set up, you can continue to use those. But if they break, we're not going to allow you to fix it, and we're not going to set up new ones.
So they're sunsetting these kind of
Yes.
feeds.
Yeah. So Glenn, are you hearing anything about this? Like, because it's kind of, I'm hearing some people say, yes, this is a thing. No, this isn't a thing.
Yeah, I think this is the biggest for the larger recruitment agencies, obviously. This really kind of stung them. The most interesting thing I wanted to see is because now we have to really work out of the ATS. Like the jobs are coming from the ATS, and ATSs just aren't built like that to properly send out jobs. Before, agencies would go in, they'd take a feed, they'd clean it up, and they'd send the XML feed, and everything worked well. I guess what I was interested in was, because now we need to work out of the ATS, were companies going to allow their recruitment agencies into their own ATS to do the work there and make the changes to optimize for Indeed? People I've talked to so far, it seems to be yes, which is interesting, but I don't think it's easier for sure. I think it's a lot more manual work on the agencies.
Interesting.
But yeah, that's kind of what
So
I'm
it
hearing.
sounds like there's, like a lot of process changing. And it's interesting because the other thing I'm hearing around that is, people who've been in the industry for a long time and they know how to optimize. Okay, can I go in, I can help like optimize the ATS or the process, right? Because we all know you can have great tech, but if you have a bad process, so now we have something that maybe was automated and now it needs to be manual. So how do you put a good process around that? And so it's like adding work, but it'll be interesting
Yeah.
to see if over time does that become more streamlined, right? Because obviously, again, Indeed's not making changes presumably to add more work, but yet there is this
Yeah.
knock-on effect, which is just
Yeah,
fascinating.
totally. It's not like they woke up one day, senior leadership down in Austin, Texas, and said, how can we make things more difficult for our customers? It seems to me like they know that this is going to be more difficult for some of their customers, but the pain is worth the gain.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
worth it to who, right? It's going to be good for Indeed, and it should be. I also suspect it's like, okay, maybe this isn't broccoli, but maybe it's cauliflower. Like they kind of like they know that long term this is going to be good for the employer, good for the candidate. That they're gonna get cleaner jobs. Maybe another topic for another day. There are also some real security concerns. Like, Glenn, you were talking about having like a third party log into your ATS. Okay, well, if you're XYZ Corporation and you're working with a staffing agency and you give them access, right away, every single person you give access to your system, there's an additional security risk there.
Oh, you're bringing me back to my
So,
days of working with some investment banks or at the investment
oh
bank
yeah,
where security was like, oh, access, external. I mean, it's a whole thing for certain
oh
companies.
yeah,
So that's a really good point.
yeah. So there'll be okay. Third item before we leave off is and this is definitely one where I'm hearing like really different things.
Okay, let's hear. What are we hearing?
So several weeks ago, maybe even a month ago now, what I heard was that, and I think there was a public announcement about it. Indeed sent out a letter. It was all over LinkedIn. It used to be that Indeed said that you had to give it enough budget so that the average job had at least $25 worth of budget, right? So if you sent them 10 jobs in a month, you had to give them at least $250 to play with. Maybe, and if they delivered clicks to you and they only delivered $40 worth of clicks to you, you only got charged 40, but they had to know that you were willing to spend and able to pay for 250. Now the change is each job has to have at least 25 bucks. So if
before it
you
was on
an
average, and now
average,
it's each.
yeah, so average would mean one job could basically suck up all the money and the other jobs would run for free, like in an extreme example. Now each job. So the effect overall is that you're going to spend more because you can't kind of get away with running jobs for free. In the UK and the EU, rather than $25, because what a surprise, they don't use the same currency. I heard it was $15 pound sterling or 15 euros, which roughly equates to $25 US, depending on the exchange rate. I've heard from some people that they are not rolling that out as quickly in the UK and the EU, that it's kind of like it's coming. Get ready. But in the US, it's already here, at least for some customers. I'm hearing like not all customers. So maybe I'll start with Jeanette and then go over to Glenn.
I mean, for me, like, diving into the job board world, fairly recently, when I heard about this, I'm like, ooh, budgets are going up, right? It's like it's an interesting way to get a little more budget and spend. On the flip side, the way like employers can keep that down is like, okay, there's some jobs that like, oh, maybe I'm not going to send this anymore to Indeed. And then thinking about like, okay, I need to diversify my sources, right? Like where do I send those jobs? And so thinking about that to be like, because if you were getting some of these for free, because again, you were spending in a certain way, you're like, oh, how do I like I think if you're head of recruiting marketing, you have to really sit down and think, what am I going to do? So I got to imagine right now what's happening. It's been happening. It'll start around the globe as it starts to roll out. It's like, okay, I've been maybe some organizations, and we know like everyone does, there's so much traffic going through Indeed. So it's like you go Indeed, but it's like, oh, maybe now I need to diversify out here. And so really thinking about that sourcing mix, and which jobs like need to go where. Like it's a lot of strategy is happening right now, but like, whew.
Yeah, it definitely makes it more complicated. Yeah, Glenn, what are you hearing?
I haven't heard a whole bunch from customers talk about this. So everything I know is just pretty much reading the news articles and stuff. But I believe, like from what I hear, I think the annoying thing would be, I believe every new additional job you want to add through the month, you would need to assign a budget to it. So it's not just more like, here's my $20,000 Indeed, I'm going to add and subtract some jobs through the month. It's now might have to be, here's like $15,000 up front, my budget. And then as I add jobs, I'm going to reserve some budget for those. I mean, I think Indeed's like one job, one posting thing a couple of years back. And now this move really just hampered it, like especially those nationwide roles or remote roles.
Yes.
Right. Where there's still other places, like pretty much everyone outside Indeed are still able to do like the geo expansions, location expansions, all that kind of stuff. That's great for those types of roles. And just really, really hard to do that anymore on Indeed, their model.
So that's a super interesting point, Glenn. So I know we have some customers, not most, but there are some that they basically have the same role, like all across the US.
Yeah.
Right.
Military, retail, hospitality. It's really, really common. Same job description, whatever, but the location's different. Sometimes these people are working from home, like a remote, so we can hire someone anywhere. And other times it's like we have 500 locations. And, and we need 4 of these people in each location, something like that. So in that case, with Indeed, if you run 500 postings,
500 times $25,
right? Instead of 500 times, a $2,000 budget, or something along those lines. And Glenn, we're not doing that. Right? I mean,
no.
We haven't changed. Okay.
I can tell you as like, chief operating officer where I got to oversee that. Meanwhile, it's like Steven's the founder. But like, there is no, it's just like, no, business as usual. We're not changing fees. We're not changing pricing. Like, it's like, no, like that's not happening.
Yeah.
Let me step in here on something I actually can tell you for sure.
Yeah. Jeanette's like, over my dead body.
Indeed just wants to set and forget, right? I think they really want you to set your budget and set your jobs and let them run for 30 days and see what happens.
Yeah.
We've kind of gone away from duration posting, but that's what Indeed really wants you to do, I feel, right now. It's less on their account managers. Less changes maybe through the month, things like that. We're still open to all that, more A/B testing, different titles, things like that.
Yeah, cool. Well, I kind of think the 3 of us are in agreement. Although these changes are going to be painful for folks at Indeed, it probably makes sense. All of them probably make sense for Indeed. They probably have little to no impact on what the candidates are going to see. So I don't think there's any harm there, and maybe some good, maybe some benefit. So that's fine. I think that there's friction for the employers. And some of them are they're going to learn to like broccoli. And then they're also going to learn to maybe like, instead
there's
of
other vegetables,
there are going to to be some employers, I think,
vegetables. You can have your fruit too, it's sweet.
It's almost lunchtime. So, hey, cut me some slack. Or cut me a piece of broccoli. But I think that there are going to be some employers who are going to say, okay, we're going to continue to work with Indeed. They've been a great vendor. They're delivering good quantity, good quality, etc. But we need to diversify more.
Yeah.
And just be looking at other sources. So
I think so.
They should call you at 2 a.m. at home, Glenn. And
yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Change is good. Change is good. It's like eat broccoli, eat some strawberries. I don't know. You know what? It's a summer. Throw some burgers and hot dogs on the grill as well. So.
Oh, now you're talking.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. Thank you, guys. This has
Awesome.
been informative and enjoyable as always.
As always. And for all the listeners, like, let us know what you're hearing. Like
Yeah.
that, like, again, there's just a lot of changing going on. And so drop us a line. Let us know. Curious.
Yep.
So, good stuff.
Comment, like, whatever.
All that. Take
Cheers,
care,
Glenn.
everyone.
Cheers, Jeanette.
Bye.
See ya. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, everyone.